talk about this. For Barbie.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Change the date.
I got that. Okay. The meeting for the Protection and Welfare Committee, Monday, April 10th, 2017, in room 207, that is 5 p.m., will now be in session. The roll call, Alder Scannell is here, the chair, the vice chair, Alder Dorf is here, and Alder Galvin is here. I have not heard from Alder Zima. I'm assuming he's just running a little late, and he should be showing up soon. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion by Alder Dorf to approve, seconded by Alder Galvin. All in favor? Aye. That passes. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes for March 27th, 2017 meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Alder Dorf, seconded by Alder Galvin. All in favor? Aye. That passes. Number 4, consideration with possible action on request by Aardvark Wine Lounge, 304 Pine Street, to amend the liquor license to include outdoor seating serving in the city right-of-way. Staff.
The recommendation from staff or from the law department would be to deny this request because we do have an ordinance right now that does not allow intoxicants in the right-of-way. So where they have the tables, or excuse me, so extending the liquor license to the right-of-way would be in violation of our ordinance that doesn't allow alcohol in the right-of-way.
Okay.
We concur with the city attorney's office.
Okay. We're on the, Alder Zimmer just joined us. We're on the first, number 4, the consideration of Aardvark's Lounge for a, extending their liquor license to include outdoor seating in the right-of-way, and we were just told by our legal department that we have a city ordinance prohibiting such a license.
Well, others have it, so I don't, how do the other ones?
Not in the
Is
right of-
sidewalk not big enough, or what?
So the sidewalk is, I'm not sure if this is attached or not
There
to,
was an attachment to the drawing.
was there not, or
There was, yeah.
this one right here?
Oh, no, that was not attached.
So what we have here is, you can see it, where they want to have the tables are going to be in between like 2 trees there. And then there's still going to be 5 feet of the sidewalk to allow for people to travel through there. But as you can see, where the tables are going to be, it's not adjacent to the property. So there's really no way to close it in, or fence it in to prohibit other people from. going
Right at the
there.
curb.
Yeah.
Well, could it be done next to the building in between the trees?
In talking to Steve Grenier, it could not, because you can see on that diagram, there's only 5 feet, I think, in between the trees and the building. If there was tables there, there would not be enough room to be ADA compliance to allow like wheelchairs or anyone to go
But I'm
through.
saying maybe at least 3 feet away from the trees.
From talking to Steve, I don't know if there's any way they can get tables in there to be compliant with ADA to allow people to get through there to travel through.
Aren't they looking for just smaller tables, though?
They've got, the way if you look at the drawing, it shows a chair against the wall, the table, and then another chair. And you have to imagine if people are sitting there, they're gonna be pushed out further from the wall. So that may be what Steve is referring to for that.
And I think at this time too, our ordinance doesn't allow for alcohol in the right of way, so allowing them to do that would be in violation of our ordinance.
So the other ones that have outside do not serve any alcohol?
So I think the ones that have outside right now are either on their own property, or there's situations where the right-of-way is, it's pretty large, like 10, 20 feet, and we were able to sell some of that property to that owner, and then it's not right-of-way anymore, it's now their property, and that's where they put tables in, and then they also close it off. And I don't know if we can do that in this situation.
Well, you want to try to help people with their business as much as possible. It's not a high traffic area there. Maybe we should send it back and study it a little more, or just hold it. I mean, they're looking for summer, correct? I mean, although it may come any day, we never really know. But, you know, I was, I mean, you don't want to cut down the trees, do you?
I don't think so.
Well, they do over at Titletown, that's why I was mentioning it. They cut them down over there. But I'm not suggesting to cut them down, but I'm trying to think, maybe we should just hold this and ask the owners to see if they can remodel it some way and we can make some kind of exception if they have maybe just where 2 people are seated, it won't be something for 4, it'll just be for 2.
Well, let's,
I would just want to, explore every possibility.
motion to open the floor by Alder Galvin,
Second.
second by Alder Dorf, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the floor is not open. If there's anyone here who would care to discuss this, please give your name and address, and address the chair when you speak, please.
Bradley Klingsporn. I live at 1123 South Van Buren Street, and I'm one of the owners with my wife of Aardvark Wine Lounge. We appreciate your consideration of this issue. We had contacted the city's attorney office beforehand, and although they didn't tell us that it was necessarily allowed, this is the first time that we heard that it wouldn't be allowed. So we would appreciate some time to respond or to revise our plan based on this information. So if I could request that the city provide us with the ordinance that that it would be in violation of, and what sort of rules there are, so that we can try to address those concerns. We would appreciate that, and we can come back at the next meeting with a revision. It would be very important for our business to have that outdoor seating. There's a lot of businesses downtown and in Green Bay in general that have a place outside, and when it's really nice like it was this weekend, there's a lot of people who would rather sit outside and enjoy that for the couple of months we get that in Green Bay than be indoors, which is all we have right now.
Question?
How many tables and chairs are you proposing right now? Or how many tables? I think it's two chairs per table.
I think they said 12 people maximum.
6.
Yeah.
It was
It
6
should
tables.
come up, right?
Yeah, it's-
Sure, well,
it's his wife.
yes, go ahead, yep. Just state your name and address and, for the record.
Hi, I'm Leanne Klingsporn. I'm from Aardvark Wine Lounge.
So you're looking at 6 tables.
Yes, we are. If I can present this to you.
I think they have it already.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Yep.
only 6,
We do.
so it's 12 seats altogether.
So I guess I would suggest going back, but see if maybe you reduce the amount of tables if you could turn it sideways,
Yeah,
which would give you more space possibly to help with that ADA rule
right.
that they're concerned about.
I mean, we're only going to use about 5 feet of that from the curb. So the entire space from our edge of our storefront to the curb is about 11.3 feet altogether.
And I think we just need to study what the attorney was referencing about, being able to control the area, because that I hadn't heard of before, that requirement. As far as we knew, if the police department agreed to the protection, our security plan, then that was the requirement. But if there's an additional ordinance, then we can address that.
Okay, there's still the problem though that it would be in the right of way, correct?
Yeah, that is the
And that's
the
against
biggest
the
problem. And
city
I
ordinance.
do believe the ordinance does have in there an exception by the police department. But I think for the most part, usually it's where the business has the tables right next to it, so you can kind of rope it off a little bit, kind of designate that it's not, that it's tied with the business. And there's also in the hold harmless as well, it says that there's no wait staff that will be going out there as well to serve it. I think what they're hoping to do is have people purchase the wine and then walk out there and just sit out there. And
Yeah.
so,
Well, you really can't have a waitress because it's all machine.
Self-serve.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
self-serve.
Yeah.
So, to bring the machine out.
Yeah. Too heavy.
So what ordinances are we looking at that they need to try and work out something?
I believe it's 27.301, intoxicants in public, and then ordinance 9.27, section 1. That's where it talks about where you cannot obstruct the travel of people walking on the sidewalk.
Okay, and then as to the open intoxicants outside,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember seeing any kind of fencing, like along Broadway Street where they have the tables and chairs set up. And I don't know if they allow alcohol out at those tables.
They don't.
They
They're
don't.
not supposed to, at least.
They're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think there's times where there's special events like farmer's market
Mhm.
where you can allow them on the sidewalk for those.
Yeah.
Okay. So and what was the other one, 27 what?
301. 9.27, section 1. And I believe this is section 1 too.
Section one, okay.
And would you just repeat those?
Yep, it's chapter 27, section 301. That's intoxicants in public.
And what was the other one?
And then the right-of-way ordinance is chapter 9, section 27, sub 1.
And who would they meet on the 927? Would that be Steve, someone from Steve's
That'd be
office?
Steve, and I guess the way it's, the hold harmless right now, I mean, they kind of already gotten past that hurdle. I guess the issue is just, there's no intoxicants allowed in the right-of-way, so that's kind of a bigger issue, not just with their
Right.
business, but
So
all
that'd be
businesses.
the 27301.
Is the-
They'd have to address that with you or?
I guess the town council, I think.
Town council?
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
I have a question. Any other questions?
Yes, question?
Well, but just for, look, say for staff, any other questions for, okay, I do have a question.
We're just gonna hold it, because we're proposing here, I don't know how the vote will go, but to hold it and let you have a chance to
Yeah.
have another stab at it.
Do you have what's in back of the building? Is there a possibility to possibly do something out in the back?
We don't have direct access to the back.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Same thing with the roof?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dumb waiter? Full of good ideas.
We're trying.
Yeah,
We appreciate
We
it.
appreciate it.
yeah, okay. Then, yeah, it's gonna be problematical, hopefully. But, all right,
Want to turn a regular order of business?
Second.
motion, just anything else before we shut the floor down? Anything else you want to say?
We didn't mention the additional security requirements with the cameras still facing those 6 tables out there. And we also can add, say, cordon off ropes or anything like that to keep it contained.
Okay.
And
And
also,
we could also end at a certain time, so,
yes,
you know, if you didn't want us to have it after dusk, then we could close our outdoor seating
yes,
to allow something like that, if that was a concern.
yeah, if it's still.
So we're willing to try to do that to get this to happen, because what we're thinking is, 3, 4 o'clock on a Saturday, having a mimosa outside on a Sunday or a Saturday.
The ambiance of Green Bay.
After they close, yeah, okay, yeah.
And in addition, also it would only be for a few months of the year, obviously being Green Bay.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
okay,
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much.
We have a motion by Alder.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for them.
Oh, you have a question for them? Oh, I'm sorry, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
I came in late, so do you have enough space between the front entrance, between that and the sidewalk?
Yes, we do.
Okay. The only thing that you're looking at here, you see it on Washington, you see it on Hagermeister, all special meetings, the only thing you're looking for is making sure they maintain an obedient house and that home harmless. If they fit on the front structure, you've done that. I've been on section welfare when this.
It's a different ordinance, Tom. It's, they're talking about the ADA right away. They don't have the 5 feet that's necessary.
I mean, but we've done that before.
Well, I guess I'd like to see that, what we've done with that, because,
I just wanted to point out when our attorney looks into us.
right, but Joe says, there's been, where people have bought the property, where there's been enough space, so I guess I'd like to see what we've done with other entities
You'd still have room.
before we go forward.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a motion by Alder Zima to close the floor, second by Alder Dorf. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the floor is now closed. We're back amongst ourselves. Is there a motion to hold?
Yes.
Yeah, I think a motion to hold till our
Second.
next meeting, give the owners an opportunity to study the ordinances and maybe come with a different proposal.
Okay, motion by Alder Zima to hold this until our next meeting, seconded by Alder Galvin. Any other discussion?
I'd just like to say, I think you want your downtown to be a vibrant place. And talk about moving with people. In my travels, which are pretty extensive in my life, there's a lot of places where there's promenades. I don't know if the street is, it always struck me as it's wider than it needs to be there. Maybe that one way or something. That have some places where people can walk around and we promote movement. And, you know, it would take a bigger project than what we're talking about here, but, you know, to push the curb and gutter out of ways and create, not only on this street, but maybe some other streets, some ways for people to walk around and be able to make stops at different places and enjoy themselves when the weather's decent. I know I asked our former mayor, Jaden, if he'd like to take a trip to Santiago, Chile with me, to just see
I'll
how
go.
their downtown was. And there are streets that are shut off,
That's right.
and there's others that are open, but it really doesn't inhibit the flow of traffic by doing it, but you have to use some imagination and decide, what is it we really want for our area? And I mean, these folks have come and made an investment, something different in our community, and of course they want to try to promote their business. And I don't know, maybe we can make some exception, possibly. We'll think about that, but I'm actually thinking of something a little bigger than that. You know, something to draw other businesses to that area. If they knew there was going to be some kind of promenade where people feel comfortable out coming and walking around, etc. So I think we ought to put our imagination to work a little bit on that. That's all I have to say.
Might be, we need to look at that ordinance again, too. Maybe that needs, it's a city ordinance.
Well, it's fairly narrow there compared to other places.
Yep.
But, you know, maybe we have to think about, you know, what good is it having big parking lots and big wide streets if people aren't comfortable or don't have a place to come?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries, so we'll pull it to our next meeting. Good luck. Back to the drawing board. Item number 5, consideration with possible action on appeal by Chris A. Schwartz? Okay, thank you. On behalf of his mother, Laverne Besaw, objecting to the decision that their dog was declared dangerous. Staff, I'll look at you.
At this time, Officer Maves was not requested to be here,
Okay.
unfortunately.
I assume she just would be, so now I understand now, I need to ask her to be, so I wish she would have been next time.
That was,
I'll ask.
and that was my mistake too. Last time, she was working with another assistant city attorney and she was here. And
I just assumed she'd be.
yeah, I did as well. It might be better to hold this until the next meeting. The dog unfortunately would have to stay at the city for another 2 weeks. But I think in order for the city to prepare its case, I think it'd be prudent if Officer Maves was here.
Is this the same dog we're talking
No,
about?
no, different one. Different dog.
No, it's a different breed. We do have some cases.
Otherwise, the other option would be, she has the report and an email that Captain Laux would present on behalf of the police department, and you would just have the report, and then they would have their testimony. That'd be the other option.
How would you prefer?
Maybe we
the
can
officer?
ask Lisa.
I would prefer our humane officer to be here. But that's up to the
Where
council.
are those reports at the Alderson? We looked at them, I think we should look at them. Give him a minute.
Well, I wasn't planning on doing anything here tonight, but I just wanted to get a little background information.
Okay.
Is the floor open? We just open
Nope,
the
nope, we have
floor?
not
Make a
opened the
motion open.
Even if we're going to hold it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
just want to ask him a couple
Okay,
questions.
certainly. Motion by Alder Zima to open the floor. Second by Alder Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the floor is
My
now open.
question is,
Oh, wait, let them, please give your name and address.
Chris A. Sherrod, 821 Doty Street, Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Okay, thank you. And you have a question?
Um,
Oh, you
This
please,
is my
yeah.
mother, Laverne.
Laverne A. Bissell, same address, 821 Doty Street.
Okay,
She was out of state when I filed this, so that's why I did it on both of our behalves.
okay.
my question is, how long have you had this dog?
About 3 years.
About 3 years, and I was told here that there's been 2 biting incidences in the last...
Well, the one I know about, I saw that one. She snuck out of the house on me and attacked this man that was walking down the street. And the other one I don't know anything about, except of the
What officer maybe said.
officer came and told me about. I did not know about that.
Okay, I just want to maybe the background information is here. I just want to know,
Yeah.
you've had the dog for 3 years, and this is the first time you've had,
Right.
these
Yeah.
last couple incidents have been the first time?
Right.
Yes.
Okay,
She's a
well,
very good dog. She's not really mean. I don't know why she went after that man at all. And in fact, she's such a good watchdog when she's in the house that I fell and dislocated my shoulder. And Chris was down the basement doing laundry and he couldn't hear me. And she started barking and barking and barking until he came up and so he could take me to the
And
hospital and get my arm
ran
fixed.
right to where she was at, so I knew something was wrong.
She's a very good dog. I don't know why she went after him.
I'm keeping her out of town right now with me, and that gets expensive too, Your Honor. You know, and
We
right
do-
now, the place I have her at, they can only have one animal at the, where I'm staying with my friend right now. I would, I have no problem with coming back in 2 weeks. I'd just like to ask if we could bring her back in town and keep her under house arrest.
We have a fenced-in kennel.
We have a
which is
kennel,
a-
and I picture that we have a kennel inside of a kennel.
If we really, the ordinance,
Okay.
we can't until
We have
we
a-
make a decision.
Yeah.
The ordinance is in effect and.
I have other people here that can testify.
Well, it doesn't
to-
matter, they can't do nothing.
No,
Yeah,
that she's
I'm
usually
sorry,
mellow.
I'm sorry.
She's not really a mean dog.
Yeah,
But we'd have to bring that up in 2 more weeks when we
Yeah,
get
I'm
another
sorry.
here.
yeah. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's getting, she's well worth the money. I'm not saying that, but it does get expensive to sleep out of town, drive 70 miles in town to come to work and then drive 70 miles back home But she's well worth the money, but it's, I just thought, we're willing to work with you in any way we can to keep her.
We'll take her to obedience classes, we'll get her muzzle, whatever.
Okay.
you say you have a kennel in the back?
Yes, I have pictures. We have a fenced in yard and we have a dog run fenced inside of that dog run where she can't get anywhere else. I guarantee you.
Sure. Would it be a hardship to ask you to not allow her outside of any place? but
No,
that
just to
kennel?
go in that kennel to go to the bathroom.
I don't think we can.
How did she get out? She got out.
She went out the front door. This comes right out of the back door of our house. You can see our back door of our house right here. We let her right out of the back door of the house. When she has to go to the bathroom, she comes into the kennel, she goes to the bathroom, and that's it. She can't get anywhere else. Right there's the back door of our house, man.
Part of our issue, sir, is we had something similar to this not too long ago, and we gave the owner an opportunity, and the dog got out and attacked another person.
Of course, he
And,
never built he didn't do what he was supposed to do.
right,
Well,
but
when-
the
if
dog
anybody-
still, what happened though was the dog snuck out of the house, and this is what
And-
you're telling us, is that the dog snuck out for the first
But-
bite.
And if we didn't know about that, if, from now on, if anytime somebody comes to the door, we'll lock her in my mother's bedroom before the front door is open. And the same thing when our company leaves, we'll lock her back in the bedroom or put her out in the kennel until the company leaves.
I usually did that every time, but this one time I did not put her in the bedroom and then she snuck out on me because I knew the people who were coming in, so I didn't think it was gonna be a big deal. And then she snuck right on me.
She's
but-
around our nieces and nephews and my friends' kids all the time. She's a very protective dog of my mother.
Would it surprise you to know that someone has told us that the dog is bitten at least 6 times prior to these two?
This
So,
dog,
That would
yes.
very much surprise me, very
So,
much surprise me.
any times that you can think of at all, has this dog bitten before? Because
No.
we will
No.
look into it and we will research it. It's best if this has happened that you tell us.
no.
I don't know anything about that, no. The
Because
man that she
officers-
went after in the yard, and the one that the officer told us about, that I let somebody walk her and they took her to the park, which I didn't know they were going to do, and she attacked somebody at the
That's
park.
why Officer Mavis brought her to the animal shelter to start with, because she only had 2 bites complained against her, and after she was, then all of a sudden, after she was in the kennel, Officer Mavis brought us his letters saying that was dated on 3/29, that said she had to be removed from the city of Green Bay because, or put down, because by 4/2/17, because somebody or something else that somebody said that there was more bites, but there is no more bites.
I don't know, understand, would it be 6 more
There is
bites?
no
We
more
never heard of
bites.
anything like that.
Because it would have never got to that long
Are you
before
the only
that.
owner of this dog?
Yes,
No.
both of us are the owners.
The only owner?
I'm owner, and my name is...
No, we got her from
How
Oh,
old is
the dog.
How
we
old is the
adopted
dog?
her from the Lakeshore Animal Shelter in Manitowoc.
Okay.
He's the
How old
owner.
the dog is? Or-
She's 4.5.
So So you've had her since she was about a year and a half,
Yes, sir.
correct?
She reminds me really well
Something
of
might
my
have
daughter.
happened in Manitowoc, is that possible?
We don't have no history of that. We were never told nothing of that.
That she was running loose on the streets and they picked her up and then put her up for adoption.
Because she's computer chipped and everything, so we would have known history of that before now. Because we were never told nothing about any previous bites anywhere.
This is
there
my,
another speaker?
My name is Tina Bowman. This is my grandma, this is my uncle.
Okay, and your address, please.
Yes, sir. 1205 Wertz, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 54304. She is a good dog. Like, my kids are 2, 5, 10, and 11. She just licks them to death. I mean, she's very protective of my grandma, as in a good nature, where if something does happen, because my grandma is getting higher in age, she does protect her. She watches out for her. She follows right behind her on her heels. Like, you could tell the bond that they do have.
And she has dogs, and they
I brought
bring-
my dogs around, and
I have
they're fine.
and I have Tika at my friend's house with her 2 dogs, and she's never aggressive to nobody, not even to their dogs. So that's why we don't understand where the other incidents came from that were disputed.
Any other questions? Okay, we are, since you came in late, Officer.
I'm sorry.
No, I just want to explain to you, not that, no problem on your part. We neglected to get Officer Mavis here, so we're going to have to hold this 2 weeks until, and we'll make sure she's here, and then we'll have to go over it again.
Okay.
So, sorry. Is there a
Motion
motion?
to return to regular order of business.
Okay, motion to.
Second.
4, seconded by Alder Dorf. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so the floor is now closed. We'll talk about holding it for a motion to hold.
Motion to hold it.
Okay, motion by Alder Galvin to hold, seconded by Alder Zima. Anything else? Yes?
Just wanted to discuss the possibility of trusting them to keep the dog in the back of the house where it is confined. It sounds, I don't know how to fit you, but you don't look like you're super millionaire type people, and this is a financial burden to them. There's a way for us to give an exception on condition that they keep it in the back of the house and do not let it out in any shape, form, or manner, that maybe we could live with it for 2 weeks, seeing that they've had it for 3 years. I don't know about the other 6 bites that they're talking about, but I just don't like to put a financial burden on people, especially if they're not, the last person we talked to, he had all kinds of money. At least I felt he did, when he owns a funeral home. But, and he didn't do what he said he was going to do. He didn't build a fence or anything, but these folks, they showed us that they have a place to keep the dogs, so I wonder if we can make that exception, providing they keep it up with the understanding if there's any kind of incident, you're going to lose the case 100%.
I agree with that.
I would make
Trying to
a motion
remember all the
hold it and allow them to
circumstances.
keep it as one, and that they restrict it to the kennel in the back of their house and do not open the front door with the dog has any chance to get out.
What I'd recommend based on our ordinances is that pending the outcome of the hearing, the dog is supposed to be held outside the city limits, so that's what my recommendation would be from staff. That's just based on the ordinances that we have.
Well, how did we make the exception for that other fellow?
We didn't make an exception for him to keep the dog within the city.
Oh, I remember.
It had to be outside the city, but he was supposed to.
He was supposed to create this during the 2 weeks.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, they have
Sorry.
something created already,
Mhm. And all I can say is tell you what the ordinance says, and
but we don't have our officer here either.
Yeah.
Well,
It's,
I would say we make an exception and allow them to keep the dog in the backyard or in the house confined when any other door is open.
I would just ask legal that if we make this exception and there is an incident, is the city liable?
I can't tell you with 100% certainty that the city would be, but I think it does open the door to the possibility that there could be. I mean, typically in dog owner situations, the liability is strictly with the owner. This would be a very unique situation. So there's an argument that could be made that we knew about the dangerousness of the dog and we allowed the dog to be in the city, but we're still not the owner or the harper of the dog, is what the statute says. So it opens the door up for possible liability. It just opens up the door that there can be an argument or lawsuit made if that happened.
Yeah, when it was the ear had to be reattached, and the other was the hand.
Okay, but let's, okay, so, the issue is whether we should allow them to keep the dog in the city or not. Let's be aware that we are possibly opening the city to a lawsuit, but also it's our neglect our negligence that we didn't have Officer Mavis here, so we're putting the burden on them, so it's not a happy situation either way. Do you want to make that motion?
Well,
or?
I made the motion to make the exception until our next meeting.
Okay, motion was made, is there a second? I don't think I'm going to second it either. I suspect, well, I don't know, I'm not gonna speculate, it's not appropriate.
Well, you know, our committee evaluates the character of people that come before us.
Yep.
For all the exceptions that we make, and, you know, how they handle themselves and how they speak goes a long way in helping us make our decisions. And I just see a lot of sincerity and a great attachment, and I want to give them every opportunity.
Yes, hold it up.
And I do too. I see a lot of sincerity. And I saw a lot of sincerity 2 months ago, and it made the exception. And the dog got out and attacked another dog during that time. The person wasn't supposed to have the dog in town, but the dog harmed another person's pet. In this case, we had an ear that needed to be reattached of a person, and also a loose dog bit a person's right hand, and he had puncture wounds on his palm and on his wrist within 1 month, period. And you didn't mean for that to happen. I know you didn't, because you love your dog, you have a secure place to put your dog, but despite that, it happened. And I just cannot, I will not second the motion, and I won't vote for this motion. And I love dogs. I'm very soft-hearted when it comes to dogs,
No second,
but I
because there's no
can't.
discussions.
Yep. That's right, we didn't second for discussion, so there's nothing.
All right, well, that
So,
failed.
motion fails for a second, so then we're back to
Motion to hold for 2 weeks.
motion to hold for 2 weeks. That's been made and seconded already, correct? I thought Alder. No, okay, Alder Galvin made the motion to hold for 2 weeks. Is there a second for that?
Second?
Second by Alder Dorf. Any further discussion on holding for 2 weeks? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No, that carries. So we'll hold this for 2 weeks. Sorry, you'll still need to keep the dog out of the city. I apologize that we didn't have Officer Mavis here. We'll make sure she is here in 2 weeks, and we'll go over the whole thing then. I would suggest maybe looking more into the background of the animal. It sounds like there may be more to this than what you know.
But if the bites happened before we even got her, how could we be reliable for that?
You would not be held liable for that,
But it's.
but it speaks to the dog's character, which we would hold the dog liable, and you would have to, so it might help you understand better how to make your case for the animal, as well as understand what we may decide on the animal. So, it's a suggestion. Of course, you do what you think you need to do. So,
Well, how
all
would
in
I get those citation numbers or those other incidents numbers when that she was allegedly supposed to have bit somebody in a different city or some other thing if nobody even knows about it? How can I even defend a dog or present a case if I don't know if I don't have an incident report where I can look up and even reference something?
Let me amend the motion to hold to have our department forward all the information.
Yes, I need all the information.
Sir, all you have to do is go down to the records, or you can go online and put in a request for open records, and they'll give you everything involved with your
Well,
dog.
even
Don't we
though
have
it's
it
a-
already? Can't we just have our office send it to them?
If he's requesting now, we can.
Yes, I'm requesting that, because I don't know where, even Officer Mavis doesn't know where all this other information was coming from.
I'd like to just amend the motion to include that we send all the information out to the owners.
Well, I don't
Okay.
think I'll send information to, we don't need to amend the motion to do that.
Because,
Okay, we'll send it to you.
people to go and try to look for records and stuff.
Right.
it's-
We'll send it to you.
takes a certain amount of sophistication for that.
Because we need to, like, you are saying, we need to know these incident reports, because how are we even supposed to defend it, or
Mhm.
anything that happens if we don't know how, what even we're looking at until we get the reports. It's kind of hard to come in here and all of a sudden, it goes from 2 incidents to 6 incidents, 6 other incidents besides that. Now we're all the way up to 8. I mean, it just seems like we're getting more stuff thrown at us that we don't even know how to defend it.
Well,
And
we'll get you that information, and before you came in, we didn't know what you knew and what you didn't know, so now we'll make sure you get that information.
all right.
All right, all in favor of holding?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that will be held till our next meeting. Item number 6, consideration with possible action on a request by Alder Dorf to have a study done on the 10 largest cities in Wisconsin to determine the policies and ordinances and use regarding concealed and open carry in city buildings such as courthouses and city halls. To also do applicable research as to the efficacy of citizens who possess a concealed or open carry license in an active shooter event and the impact on law enforcement training. This was previously discussed and referred to staff at the February 13th, 2017 PNW meeting. Staff,
Where do you want me to start?
wherever you want to
Where do you
start.
want to start?
Okay, well, I did submit to you guys a memo that included the top 10 cities and then along with a few more as well. Out of the top 10, and that includes Green Bay, the only other city in the top 10 that does not have an ordinance or policy that's prohibiting guns in city buildings is Waukesha. So Waukesha and Green Bay are the only 2 that do not prohibit weapons or firearms within city buildings. For the most part, there's ordinances that are being, that are passed that prohibit it, and I attached some examples of those ordinances to this memo.
Joe, real quick, just to verify with Green Bay,
Mhm.
all city buildings in Green Bay can have weapons in them?
So all, in the city of Green Bay, there is a policy with the employees that no city employee may have a weapon or firearm within a city building. However, the public is allowed to bring in a weapon or firearm into a city.
What about alders? Are we employees?
You are considered employees, yes.
So we could not carry concealed at our meetings?
That's correct.
I was
Interesting.
given information.
Are we really?
other than that.
I think you're
Yeah.
exempted.
We get paid from the city.
I think we
Because you're
really
exempt. Yeah.
I just
I don't
was
think we're
curious
strictly
what we're
employees, because you can't draw
considering.
unemployment or anything else from this job.
There's certain issues where you're an employee or not an employee, but for this instance, for the guns, you would be considered an
We
employee.
can get city insurance and stuff, so.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay. All right.
And then Sheboygan as well, Sheboygan has the same policy we have. Sheboygan, Waukesha, and Green Bay all have the same policy that employees cannot have weapons in city buildings, but the public can bring in.
So even like our city pools, all that kind of stuff,
So
park
the-
shelters?
So when it comes to parks, those are handled differently than a building. Parks are open to the public. You cannot exempt, you cannot prohibit weapons from the city park.
What about courthouse?
So
Courtroom?
the courthouse is, that
That's
falls
county.
under the statute, the state statute, where you cannot bring weapons into a courthouse, a state or federal courthouse, but a municipal courthouse, while it's in session, you are not allowed to have weapons in there.
Is that our ordinance or is that the state?
That's the state.
That's the state.
And what about the police department?
So then there's a number of
There's
buildings.
exemptions for police. and-
Yeah, so the police department, you cannot bring weapons into there, and that's the state statute.
So employees can't bring weapons into the police department?
I think. If you look at Racine on the second page where it has, what Racine did was they adopted the state statute and they put it in as an ordinance. Here, I believe, under B, that talks about what buildings are always exempt, where you can never bring a weapon into.
Now, do you know what the municipalities that have the, that do not have the ordinance, like Waukesha and Sheboygan, do they also have the provision that their employees cannot carry?
That's correct, yeah, both of them.
That's common?
Yeah.
Okay.
I find that so odd, may I speak?
Well, anything else from any?
Just the other part, the effective active event and the impact on law enforcement training. Since 2009, 165 of our officers have gone through a class called Characteristics of an Armed Gunman, trying to identify people who are carrying concealed. So we do train on that.
Yes, Alder.
I just wanted to make a comment. I was looking at the Wisconsin State Constitution, and in it says that there are two places in which a citizen's desire to exercise the right to keep and bear arms for purposes of security is at its apex in the citizen's home or in his or her privately owned business. And I suppose privately owned business is different than being a city employee. But I just find it odd that employees are not allowed to carry when the public is. So, thank you for that information.
Any further discussion? Do we want to open the floor, or?
And maybe just to clarify, I think the reason why the employees are not allowed to have weapons is because that'd be a workplace policy. And that's, I think, have a safe environment in the workplace. That's the purpose of that.
I think you'd find a lot of companies that don't.
I would
Because of
guess.
that.
Yeah, there are a lot of places that don't.
Alder Zima?
Well, I'm just as a way of background to the committee members, because I think you folks weren't on the council at the time. Mr. Galvin might have attended the meeting. I don't know. I don't remember. But, you know, this subject was brought up, and we had extensive debate on it and input from the public. And I believe at least 2 meetings, if not more. But this was thoroughly talked about at that time. I'm not saying it can't be talked about again.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But at that time, I don't remember the vote. There are a couple, maybe Mr. Dwayne would remember, but we did vote to allow people to have that right. So, and I would suggest if we're planning to do otherwise, that, you know, we have a public hearing about it and take input again, because conditions could have changed from when we first made the decision. And, you know, you want to hear all the arguments. They're more sophisticated than I can remember to tell you about, but I remember I did vote to keep the to have the ordinance as we presently have it, but I can't remember all the pros and cons, to be honest, and I guess I'd like to review that if we want to go ahead with this. I'd ask that we have a hearing, and then perhaps go to the council for a hearing. Because there are a lot of people interested in this, and there's a lot of different debate about it. It wasn't the easiest decision. But, you know, at least the majority of the folks on the council at that time, and I think it was close to unanimous. Do you remember, Tom?
Yeah, I think there might have been one vote against it.
Yeah.
Maybe, I'm not even sure there was any.
So after extensive debate, it was a pretty heavy vote in favor of the ordinance as we have it right now. But, so you might want to, before you make any other decision, you might want to have some hearings about it. And those folks, I'm sure, will want to be heard again. Some people take their rights very seriously.
Did we want to open the floor now?
Well, I guess I turned to Ms. Dorf here first. She made the communication, and are you prepared to make a recommendation to the committee?
I'm prepared to get information, so I was hoping people would be here to speak tonight. Because what we may come up with tonight is more questions that need answers. So I asked the first question to get this, the cities, and that kind of opened up to me another question as to why. We have the data now that show that cities don't allow weapons, but I don't have the answer to my satisfaction as to why don't they allow weapons. And I think there should be a compelling reason either not to allow them or to allow them. I don't know if the law has changed in the last 5 years, but I don't see us making a final recommendation tonight. But I do see us gathering information and then looking at getting answers to additional questions. How do you feel about that?
More information is basically, what happens is, I don't think there's too many people here, there's probably a handful of people here tonight that probably start the discussion for you one way or the other. I don't know which one side is here and the other side isn't, or a little bit of both, I don't know. But I just know that it's something that probably needs some advertising so that people know about the meeting, and then they will show up, and then you will be able to hear the arguments pro and con. I guess I have one question. Do we have any statistics about whether the cities that don't allow it are safer than those that do allow?
That's a good
You had an
question.
incident report, and I know, yeah, I'm just remembering from something not too long ago where I think an Aldi's store used to have a posted, no weapons in here, and then somebody robbed the place, and somebody was armed in there, probably illegally, but they actually solved the problem that day, and I think they might have even been fined for that because they were breaking the ordinance, but the store, I think, did. And I'm doing this from memory, so don't hold me to it exactly, but the store then reversed their policy and took that down from their store. And I don't know what they do here in Green Bay, but there's arguments on both sides.
Absolutely. That's why I would like to hear from whoever is here tonight,
But
and then have a hearing.
But I'm assuming you brought this forward because you want to change the policy.
I brought it forward because citizens spoke to me about feeling that they didn't feel they could be at city council meetings or speak up because they felt threatened. And because they have to stand up and give their home address before they speak, they did feel intimidated by persons that were carrying weapons, in this case open carry, that were not on the same side that they were on. So that's why I brought it up, because of the feelings of intimidation. So I didn't bring it up because it was my idea.
I have never been approached that way, so I'm not saying you haven't, but,
I have.
well,
But,
I heard about one incident not too long ago where I believe it was Ms. Ronsman was making a fuss, and she was making a fuss about somebody that didn't even have a gun.
Yeah.
But, and then somehow, somebody who had a gun was being blamed or something. So,
before we open, I'd like to ask, I'm going to show my naivete here, a public hearing. I thought that's basically what we were doing here. Is a public hearing something a little different?
well, I think you gotta publish that.
Well, I mean, we did publish this. I mean, we could certainly hold it and generate more perhaps or whatever, but
Well, I guarantee you, when they find out of it, it'll be a much bigger crowd, probably 2-3 times what's in this room.
I mean, I thought this was fairly well publicized, and I have no problem holding it and publicizing it more, but we're not talking about another separate kind of thing when we say public hearing. It's the
Our
same.
next meeting.
Well, I think with
Well, you can even
this
ask
communication, we do have to approve the study, and the study's been done. So, but I think also, and it can be improved as well,
Yep.
and written down more. But I think you can either, approve, deny, hold it for the next week, but you can have a public hearing on this as well. You can have a public hearing on any type of communication that comes in, because it's the public's right to do that. It's just up to you, how do you want to, characterize it under this communication, or have another one where it says public hearing on this issue.
And then we set up a special date just for that, just have that issue? Is that kind of what you mean by public?
I think you would just have it under the protection
The welfare and
welfare.
the general, okay, yeah. Well, then I think we just maybe hold this in that case, but we can certainly get going on it now, I think, have some discussion and open the floor and get some input.
But Alderperson Dorf, excuse me, you don't have a definite opinion about it one or the other at this point in time?
I don't have a definite opinion, no. And I possibly could be persuaded to a compromise, but I would like to get more information. I'm not ready to commit right now.
And when you say compromise, what do you mean?
I'd like to hear from the public, and then I'd like to give my opinions. I would like to listen first. So I would make a motion to open the floor.
Motion on the floor by Alder Dorf, seconded by Alder Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the floor is now open. Anyone who would like to speak on this, please step forward and give your name and address, and then just address the chair, please. You can line up or whatever.
I'll be up there.
Okay.
Thank you for hearing
Name and
the
address.
input. Joshua, 1216 Cherry. I'd like to say this is a real strong issue. It's not an easy decision, and you're not going to have everybody that agrees with you, so thank you for bringing it up and hearing the input. Lisa just stepped out, and she said I can put her name behind my comments today, too, if we think along the same lines. First and foremost, it is intimidating when more than a trained professional in an active scenario is holding a gun, especially in a place where the conversation can get very heated, very emotional. I can draw your attention to just last week when we have someone who had an outburst at your council meeting. Just as an example, I wouldn't feel safe if that person who is very charged at that moment was armed. Now, he might not be concerned with anyone else in the room at the time, but again, the only person I feel would be safe with a firearm is somebody like a law enforcement officer who has the public's trust and has been trained in this sort of incident. There are certain appropriate places for some things that might not be appropriate in other scenarios. Just as an example, tobacco is not appropriate in City Hall. Also, alcohol is not appropriate in City Hall, explosives, and firearms should not be appropriate in City Hall. I'll leave you with one last idea that I've held very true to. The more guns that you introduce into a scenario, the more people can get shot and will get shot. Thank you.
Come on, you can all come at once.
Matt?
Certainly.
What do I do with that? You want my name, right?
Name and address, please.
My name is Henry Carl Christopher R. V, 2920 Crosshaven Avenue, Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm a fifth generation Broward in this town, all right? Give you an idea of my family background and how I've looked at this city and Wisconsin itself. And that's more of the background you should know about I have, and I would fairly welcome questions from all of you. Back in the early 2000s, Senator David Zine and Representative Scott Gunderson, are these names familiar to you?
Yeah.
Okay. They collected people in this state to write this bill. I was one of them. I've got pictures here if you want to see them, if we have any questions about my credibility. I also have the Aldi's case on file right here also, okay? And your statistics and your stats, I can talk about those also. I helped write this bill. My words are in this bill, by the way. So you're talking to someone who was there. You're talking to someone who was in the room like these when what we discussed, what we collected from the people when we went around this whole state and what they said to us about their liberties, okay? And I remember them. I remember one in particular, a man who fought actually in World War II. D-Day, the beach. This man has passed now. But the story he told us was something that you can't forget. He fought for his right. He said, no one will tell me how to carry a firearm or whether I can or cannot in this country. I fought for this country. My friend, my companion, died right next to me on the beach. His blood was on me, literally. This man is in tears. He remembers this day. No one tells me whether I can carry a firearm in my country that I fought for and we died for. These are the people that we listen to, okay? So, I represent NACFI, National Association of Certified Firearms Instructors, previously named AACFI, American Association of Certified Firearms Instructors. The material I teach was written by Second Amendment scholars and attorneys. I know the law. I was involved in it, and I helped write it. I teach everybody. I teach attorneys the law. Law enforcement, the law. Councilmen, individuals, everybody. And I teach it exactly the same way to everyone. Because we have to pull this together. We wrote this bill so all of us can work together, so we don't have odds with each other. The state of Wisconsin learned a lot from this bill from the company I represent. I have a sheet here if you want to see Wisconsin Justice thanking the president of our company, Tim Grant, for teaching the state. Okay? We wrote this bill based on 48 other states at the time. We're the 49th state. Illinois came in last, of course, on the goods and bads of things that happen. For those of you who think that crime does not occur, you need to think a little bit more. It does occur, it occurs everywhere. Criminals are always out there. We know this, don't we? No matter where you are. Another state, a council meeting like this, an individual came in that wanted to shoot the council members. Okay? I use these examples in my teachings. I'm certified to teach Florida, Utah, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. Now, if someone was in that meeting, it could have been this individual that was wanting to do bad could have been stopped. That's who we are. That's who we carriers are. We are the law-abiding citizens. We aren't the ones that threaten and see a gun in the open. These preconceived notions are just inundated in society by the anti-gun people. You must think. When you're out hunting, you see firearms on people, you get afraid of that too. Okay, it's not based on people's phobias of them. That doesn't run the society, it's not supposed to. We wrote this law so we could all get along properly together and agree with each other. And we should protect ourselves. And to tell us we can't protect ourselves and our fellow people, no matter where it is. You talked about stats. What, a couple others were Green Bay and what was it, the Waukesha that doesn't have prohibitions?
Mhm.
Okay, are you listening to me?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, just because other cities have prohibited it doesn't make them right. Think about it. Have there any been problems? Has anybody had any problems? No, we have not had any. We haven't had any previous to this either, have we? That makes no difference whether there's a law to carry concealed or not. It was outlawed in 1872. You want to know why it was outlawed in 1872? Well, carrying a gun was nefarious. But our legislatures were shooting themselves in chambers. It wasn't we the people. Understand? To prohibit self-protection. We ratified that in 1998. I think you brought that up. The vote in 1998 was it 78 to 82% of people voted that we follow the Constitution and we can carry in the state for self-protection. That doesn't mean you restrict it. The bill wasn't written to restrict, because that's where crime occurs. The bill was written though so we all get along. You didn't realize you could carry a gun or not, is that correct? Do you want to carry a gun in this building?
Oh, I knew I couldn't.
No, do you want to?
Do I want to? I don't know.
Okay,
I could. I don't know.
do you want, I mean,
I want
if you
to,
want to
no.
have them to be carried in this building, now they're not restricted in here. We talked about city halls, we talked about when places are not in session of court, is that correct? It was very good. That if you want, you said city employees. Written in the bill is that the owner can make that restriction. Only the owner. He can say yes or no to it. If this council wants to say that, as an employee, you may carry, it will happen. This bill was written with the flexibility to allow, but not to restrict. We didn't write the bill to restrict. If you sat in these rooms with me in the attics and these places all over this state, staying away from people that were anti-gun, I'm just going to be point blank and straight with you. This is how I teach my class. We didn't write it to restrict. We wrote to self-protect ourselves, our people, our children, our friends. We are not the criminals. We are not the bad guys. You don't like to see a firearm. Yes, I do address you because you brought it up. And
You should address me, please.
the gentleman back here about seeing, I'm sorry.
You should always address the chair,
I'm
please.
sorry, okay. Oh, the chair, okay. When you take a look at people that have a firearm on, I mean, someone back here mentioned that, oh, they were just afraid of this. That's quite interesting. What about being afraid of someone who wants to come in here and try and kill you? That's the real reality, isn't it? It's that those of us who carry properly. Now, if you don't want to see them in a meeting, you don't have to restrict it. You don't have to say, can't do it. All you put up is a sign that says, please keep all weapons concealed. And if you want to think of please keeping all weapons concealed, you might as well keep all your clothes on also. Because anything and everything can be used as a weapon. It doesn't make a difference what it is. The air can be used as a weapon. It's the heart, mind, and soul that makes the difference. A weapon is an inanimate object. It doesn't reproduce, it doesn't breathe, it doesn't think. It's the heart, mind, and soul here that makes that difference. We wrote the bill so we can have some flexibility if you like. But don't restrict us. And just because there are stats of other states, are you listening to me? Okay, just because there are stats
Please,
in
please,
other
please
states.
don't do that, please, don't.
Just because
Just
there
talk to
are,
me.
you could,
Just
just
talk to
because
me.
there are stats that are in this state of
Mr.
other
Chairman,
places that
that's
do and do
your
not
rule.
have, doesn't make it correct. I'm sorry?
That's parliamentary procedure, sir.
I'm sorry, Henry, I didn't hear what you said last. Could you repeat that?
Oh, we had stats about other places restricting. It doesn't make them correct. You have to understand that there are other places in this state that are different. Milwaukee and Madison are different. Because the people down there, we're Green Bay. We're not a big city that has crime as much. We do have a lot which is not being revealed to us. Law enforcement knows about that. But we're not like these other cities that you have to worry about. The decisions you make are what elicit the reaction from us. Okay? The bill was not written to restrict. It was written so we all get along and do it right. Follow our Constitution, follow the 1998 ratification of the state. It's not that if you trust us, it's if we trust you with our liberties.
Any
Trust us
questions?
with our liberties. That's what we asked, that's how we wrote the bill.
Okay.
And we have no problem protecting our fellow man. But if you want to have them not shown, just ask. You're not going to find us unreasonable by any means.
And-
If you have any questions about the
Yep.
bill itself,
No, no, no.
I
Question
would
for
love
you.
to answer your questions for you.
Yep,
Well, and,
hold the door.
you know, there are places where weapons are not allowed, like jails, right?
Yes,
Police
yes, and
departments,
and-
schools,
Correct.
homes. You know, people who own a business can make that choice, right, to post.
It's solely their choice. They can say you can only have a pink gun, none, put it in a locker, you can carry, you cannot. This can make, use a choice that you're the only person that may carry if you so choose. As long as it's, go ahead.
So there are places where people can't carry. And it doesn't mean that you don't have the right to bear arms in other places. It's not taking away your rights in the store next door if it isn't posted. So when you were talking, and you talked about taking away your right to bear arms, just because if we make the decision that you can't in this building have concealed or open carry, it isn't taking away your complete ability to have
Thank you
these.
for making a comment about your
Is there a
computability.
question?
Well, I'm asking if
The
he
question
agrees
is-
with that.
Do I agree with the restrictions? No,
No,
not
I'm
anywhere.
asking if you would agree that it doesn't take away your right.
No, I don't agree. That does take away my right. My right to carry, when does crime occur and where does it occur? Can it happen in this room? Can it happen in a law enforcement station? It can happen anywhere. Do you have a crystal ball? None of us do, and that's what we talked about. It can happen anywhere. The slippery slope of taking away our rights continues. Let's not do it here. Let's not do it there. Let's not do it here. Let's have our schools shut up a little bit more because we restrict them there. And are you aware of the stats on that? If you want to talk about stats, we can talk about the real ones. The idea of restricting and me agreeing that it takes away my right to bear arms, it does take away my right to bear arms, because that is a right of all square inch of earth. And our country, that's what that's about. We carry, if we so choose. We don't have a place where we cannot, because crime occurs there. I don't agree with them restricting here, there, and there. It's the heart, mind, and soul that makes the difference. We can't see that in other people. But if you take away the right somewhere, there's always going to be someone bad that's going to come in and try and harm you. Why not have people there that can protect you?
We have police officers.
I'm
The other
sorry, but we have
question
police
is-
officers, yes, but they aren't there all the time. And by the way, I train officers. Who do you think shoots better?
You probably do.
Yes, I do.
Practice
And I've
more.
talked to chiefs all over this state.
So the other question is, did you hear me when I said, yes, we have the statistics that they don't allow,
Mhm.
but I further want to know why.
Why they don't allow?
Right, and
in other
that's not
places?
something you're not gonna, I'm just asking if you heard that I asked that, because you're right, it isn't just enough to have the data that says
Correct.
that they don't allow. I do want to know more about why.
Why they don't?
decided. And I'm not asking you to answer
Oh,
that
no,
question.
no, no.
I'm just asking.
I can tell you why. I don't know whether you're gonna like the answer or not, but I can tell you why, yes.
Well, you can give me your opinion of why, yes.
Why would any council vote it down? Why would any council vote down a right to bear arms? Yes, a right to bear arms. Why would any council vote to say you can't have a firearm or a weapon of self-protection anywhere?
That's what I'd like to
Why,
find out.
why not? Well, think about it. Do you want to cut your nose off to spite your face? No, you can't. Well, someone could come in here and harm you. They could harm me. I don't want someone telling me that I cannot protect my friends. I will protect them. I do not want someone telling me I can't. By the way, it's not your right either. We have a constitution, it's called. See, when it's restricted in other places, what are the reasons for it? It's the frame of mind of the people on that council. If they have no experience with firearms, I can see where people are getting apprehensive about it. Then you should get experience. I don't have experience with certain things, fine. But do I say, no, I hate them, let's restrict them, let's get rid of them? No, I don't. I say, that is their choice, and I will do my best to try, but I will not tell them they can't. And it goes with firearms too. If you do not have experience with firearms, you should not make a judgment that they should not be there. That's prudent, isn't it? Isn't that wise? That is how this bill was written. It wasn't meant to look at it as it's a political thing either. It's not meant to look at people with phobias about it. It wasn't meant to just because. We try to protect our rights and our fellow man, even you. Someone came in here and tried to harm anybody on here, even someone who doesn't agree with it. We are here to stop that. That's what it's about. That's who we were when we wrote the bill. That's who we the people are in Wisconsin. We're not the criminals of Wisconsin. We have good people in Wisconsin. I mean, it's why to restrict it is just because of an attitude. Because there's no reason for it. If you think why, it makes no sense at all. But it's usually because of political reasons or someone who maybe has had a bad experience and they have a voice. And that's the problem. When you get too many voices that are anti because of their own experiences, you don't have a balance, do you? We need some balance. We need to find out. And I agree with you that if you say that you may not want to see a firearm because certain experience or something, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with you telling me I can't. But I don't have a problem with you saying, for all the people here, why don't we keep them concealed? Not force us, but just be reasonable and say, why don't we do it that way? That's really how a lot of us look at this bill, about saying you can and can't in certain areas. That can be changed. The restriction actually in our law, which you try more severely, is saying you can't. You can't restrict it. It's more open to saying you can allow it in places that say maybe not or cannot. That can be changed. Like here. I'm sorry, does that make sense?
Some of what you said did. I have no further questions.
No, you had other questions, please. I mean, I'm
I
here to
don't.
answer
Any other
questions you have.
Yeah,
I'm done.
my turn?
Your turn.
All right.
You go.
Firearms instructor, you feel anyone should be able to carry anywhere, anytime. Do you feel they ought to have training before they carry? Yes or no?
Do I feel they have to have training?
Do you feel they should have training?
You want a yes or no?
Yeah.
Is it a compound?
Well,
Bill, I know each other.
Let's just.
I believe.
I'm trying to keep it compressed here.
I believe that everybody should know properly how to carry a firearm or use any weapon. Any weapon. Yes, I do agree that people should know.
Okay.
And I do train that, and I tell people, if you do not know, if you are afraid, do not carry. I have people that will tell me that they can't fire a gun. Can you shoot somebody if you had to, Bill?
All depends.
You said all depends. You didn't say no, never. I can't ever do it. I'm not going to certify you, and you're not allowed to carry a firearm. You carry it because you must use it at certain times. You hate to. You carry it reluctantly, and you try to never use it. And you never threaten anybody with it either. But training, you have to be careful with the word training, because there's overtraining. There comes the restrictions.
Again, I'm just trying to keep it simple here.
Yes.
Okay. Before a person drives a car, what do they have to have? Legally drive a car in Wisconsin, what do they have to have?
In today's day and age, they have to have a driver's license.
Okay. Do you think it's necessary that people should have drivers that, to some extent, before, do you think they should pass a certain kind of qualification before they can operate a dangerous vehicle on city streets?
I don't like the word dangerous vehicle, but yes, I do believe that they should have some
So, I
training.
mean, because pro-gun people will tell you, anybody can take a truck and drive it through a crowd of people.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Anything and everything is a weapon.
Right.
Everything should be trained, anything should be taken away, a butter knife. We have to be careful. But yes,
Okay.
I want people to know. I train people, and I tell
All
them
right.
point blank, if you cannot, then you do not.
Okay, and you said that you think that the weapon is an inanimate object. You have to look inside a person's mind and heart to know if they're going to be a threat, right?
Nobody knows.
And that's just it, nobody knows. Okay.
That's right. So don't make these people guilty. Don't look at me or any people that are innocent. We are innocent until proven guilty in this country.
Understood that. Now, we talk about violent crime statistics. In Brown County, how many homicides have been committed by people that do not know the victim?
They do not know the victim?
Right.
I think there's very few, isn't it?
How many violent crimes against people have been committed by people that do not know the victim?
Okay, you can tell me the stats. Go ahead, Brown County.
Well, I'm just saying, because you're saying that, there's statistics that show that anybody should be armed at any time to protect themselves.
Mhm, correct.
Statistically speaking, and I would think the law enforcement community would agree with me, that most of the crimes, violent, that happen to people that know each other.
Yes, statistically, that's what I've heard.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
that's correct.
I guess carrying in Brown County then at least,
Shouldn't be a problem.
should be a problem in that the only people you have to worry about are the people you know. Should be, well, statistically speaking, okay?
Yeah.
Now, you said this law was designed so we can get along with each other.
Yes.
How specifically does that law help us all get along? And obviously, we're talking about the people that are pro and anti-gun.
Correct, correct.
So how does that help us get along?
The law itself,
Yeah.
the law itself is to pull us all together and understand what we do for each other. We're supposed to protect each other. We're supposed to love our fellow man, aren't we? Aren't we a Judeo-Christian country? I'm Catholic. We're supposed to look.
Stay focused on it. Ignore the peanut gallery.
Thank you.
Okay.
But
If
how
we-
specifically is the law written that helps put us together? Can you give any examples of what's
Well,
in the law?
discussions such as we're having now, discussions that open it up to looking, one of them is to look at a discussion we can all have, like this. We are getting together and we're talking about ourselves. Who are the bad people, who are the good people? We don't know. We're opening it up. You have to open your minds up and think. Do I agree with training? Yes, I do. I'm not, I don't want shoot it everywhere, like what was said, which never occurred, by the way. I agree with training. Okay, so we agree on something. You see how it's actually pulling us together. Law enforcement is a big thing that we need to pull together. Those of us who carry and believe in carrying a firearm, law enforcement is key. You're trained for that job. That's your job, not ours. Our job is self-protection. Yours is law enforcement. And we have to work together with this. So it pulls us together. I will protect law enforcement officers if you need my help. And that has happened in this country many, many, many times where people carry have backed up law enforcement. So why should law enforcement be at risk when we can help them? We the people protect the country. That's our job. And putting it together is discussions like this. How is it that we can all agree with something? We can all state that if we know that we're watching over each other, if we've got each other's back, doesn't that kind of pull everybody together a little bit? If you think about it. And the law was made to be flexible enough that we can all come up with some solution. You may not want to see an open firearm, okay? Then let's just say let's keep them concealed. The Capitol in Madison, you can carry there with a permit, therefore must be concealed, okay? Before that, we could carry in the open if we so choose, right? So restricting, I have the flexibility myself to say, if you don't like seeing one, I understand, I do. It's not that I don't, but we have to go on a two-way street. You have to understand what we're trying to do. And we both have to come together on a solution for it. And reasonably, we don't need law. We don't need rules written in. That just makes things worse because you'll find someone cornered here and not cornered there. That slippery slope. Like I said, it's not that if you trust us, it's that we trust you with our liberties. Our liberties are, we protect ourselves, our fellow man. That's what this bill's about. And it was restricted in 1872, which is wrong. And a lot of states right now, if you've been listening, they're getting rid of their concealed carry laws. Whether it be open or concealed, you can carry anywhere you want. It's over 9 states now. 18 allow it in schools. I can carry in Utah. I have a Utah permit. I carry in the schools in Utah. We have a school bill that's coming up in Wisconsin. I have addressed it with my representative. I wish he'd kind of look at some of the rules I wrote for it. But it's rules that we all agree on, not rules that inflame us.
Okay, and just getting back to a couple of, you addressed my issue with intimidation.
Mhm.
You can certainly understand, although you said if someone's intimidated, educate yourself on it. But let's face it, there's going to be people that they've had traumatic incidents or the way they've just been raised. We're not going to be able to change that. They're
Correct.
intimidated. Just like at polling booths, there's been incidents where people dressed in paramilitary uniforms have shown up and people have felt intimidated.
Correct.
And so there's been court
Battles over there. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you can see how someone would be intimidated. A person
Right.
that suffered through a domestic violence,
Absolutely.
trying to walk to the courthouse, and there's someone standing on the sidewalk legitimately carrying a open carry,
Mhm.
that victim might feel intimidated to walk past them and enter the courthouse.
Correct.
So, but you addressed it, you said you wouldn't like it, but you'd be okay with going concealed in cases like that.
In certain cases, having it concealed for people that, yes, you could do that, but let's not make it a strict law. Let's at least be human beings and talk about it.
Well, and that's a little bit of what we're doing here,
Yeah, and
and we may be doing more on
You're
that.
talking about people that got intimidated in domestic cases like that. There are fewer than the people out there that have not had that happen. And we shouldn't be, I don't mean cold or callous, but we should not be ruling our society over people's incidents that they have that are fewer. We're a democratic society. Certain people, but they should not be able to telling other people what to do. There was an incident that I taught a woman that had that shotgun in her face when she was a child, completely afraid of fire. She wouldn't go near her. She wouldn't even be in the same room. I learned of this. I took her out and taught her. And in 5 minutes, she was turned around.
Well, and that may be, but we can't
That's what we
address
need to
that with
do.
everyone. And we can't say, don't ignore small segments of our society. And we have to try and consider everyone's opinion.
Correct.
Not just the majority all the time.
Well,
I understand how voting works and how passing a bill works. It's the majority of the rules. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we have to try and consider everybody's
Everybody.
feelings and how they feel, okay?
correct.
Just like we have to-
Without destroying our rights.
Absolutely. I mean, just like at one time, open carry, concealed carry were considered a minority. And that's changed, obviously. The laws have changed. Okay, so I'm just trying to get information
Mhm.
from you and from whoever else would be willing to talk about some of these different things that I'm bringing up so I can get better educated about how
Oh,
people
I'd
feel.
be happy to
and
talk
how
to you
people
about it.
seal these things.
I'd be happy to talk
Any other
about it.
question?
No, I think that's pretty much covered all my points. Thank
Well,
you.
I'd like to open up the floor for others, but so if there's
Sure.
one last statement you'd like to make, or?
Oh, no, thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you.
You can see I'm passionate about it. I got involved in writing it, so you can see where this comes from. If you have any questions or anything, I'd be happy to help. We have other people and be working together is what we're talking about in these rooms together. And let's do it. Let's not be like other stats out there too.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anyone else? Yep, please.
My name is Bronson Smith. I live at 1525 Smith Street in Green Bay. I am 46 years old. I have lived here in Green Bay my entire life. I'm a tax-paying, law-abiding, small business owner. I've been a responsible gun owner for 25 years. I received my first rifle as a gift from my dad when I was 12 years old. I've been carrying a concealed weapon since 2 weeks after it became law over 5.5 years ago. I've taken numerous weapons classes, and more importantly, I am an American citizen with the right to keep and bear arms. I choose to be my own first responder because I know that the police have no duty to protect the individual citizen, just society as a whole, and maintain law and order. My actual tangible right to carry a legal concealed weapon or openly carried weapon trumps other people's fictitious rights to feel safe. And I said fictitious because the right to feel safe does not exist. I have heard the reason for the study now on allowing weapons inside Green Bay municipal buildings is because some people called a few older people, and complained that they will no longer be attending city council meetings because some people might carry guns, and they are fearful of those armed individuals, so they can't take part in our local government. Well, they have decided to stop taking part in local government due to their irrational fears, and law-abiding gun owners should not be stripped of our Second Amendment rights and be unduly punished by forcing them to go unarmed because of a minority's fear of guns. 2011's Act 35, the Wisconsin Concealed Carry Law, offers immunity from civil lawsuits for any entity that does not post no weapons on their premises. Otherwise, Act 35 says any premises that's open to the public that forbids lawful concealed carry is not only responsible for everyone inside's safety, that are also civilly liable if something happens. Somebody comes in and begins shooting people. The city of Green Bay would be opening itself up to a potential massive lawsuit if they do post no weapons inside City Hall. But if the Common Council decides to forbid lawful gun owners from carrying a weapon to defend themselves, then the city must search all visitors, install metal detectors at all doors, and also must man those metal detectors with armed guards or police officers from open until close. Yes, if this body wants to create a defense-free crime zone, then it's going to cost you. Now, in the 6 years since the 2011 Act 35, there have been 0 gun-related incidents inside this building. No one has been shot, no one has drawn their holstered weapons, and no one has threatened to draw a weapon to harm someone. It's time to focus the city's attentions on real issues, not fantasy issues. And then, the Second Amendment says nothing about training. Training can be used as a restriction. Is it going to be 40 hours of training, 80 hours, 300 hours of training? And all that training, well, it costs money. It's not free. So maybe each person needs to suck up a $500 or $1,000 to get the training before we can be responsible enough to carry a weapon. And one other thing, and then I'm done. Every time a new majority of city council members are elected, will we be revisiting this issue again? Thank you. Any questions?
No, not right now. Thank you, Brampton.
My name is Ed Forrell. I'm at 2219 Janesford Avenue in Green Bay. I'll try to keep this brief. I kind of whittled it down. As some of you know, I have hours of material, but I'll reserve that. When I'm questioned after making public appearances, I've been active speaking in front of council since 2009 when they wanted to restrict carry in parks. I'm often asked, why do I have to carry? Why do I feel a need to carry? And my response is, I don't. I don't carry because I have to, because I want to, because I have anxiety if I don't carry. It has to do with other matters I'll bring up later. First, I want to address, before I forget, some of the questions. I've got some of the information that the alders are looking for. Alder Galvin, you had asked about whether people should be trained before allowed to carry. One thing about Wisconsin statute and the restrictions, currently the only people that can carry a firearm openly or concealed in a municipal-owned building are licensees. So anybody carrying to a city council meeting will have been vetted and will have been trained according to the State Department of Justice standard. So there aren't, legally, there aren't any untrained people showing up at city council meetings. Are you talking about the 40 hours or whatever it is you have to have for concealed carry? Or state of Wisconsin, did that pass the 4-hour?
Wisconsin does not have an hour requirement. My ears are bad from shooting, so I talk loud. There's no requirement for the number of hours in Wisconsin. There is a training requirement only. Okay? It was a falsehood that came out about the 4 hours that was in the papers.
Okay. So what the state requires is that you have basic firearm safety training, you have de-escalation of violent conflict. That's what the DOJ put in there. So the instructor has to certify that, yes, that student has gotten that training. Another question I wanted to address is regarding why are some of these municipalities restricting carry within their buildings? And from the information I have, it appears to be because they can. I've gone on the internet, I've looked at some of these city council meetings, the ones that either published minutes or had a video, and they were very similar to some of the responses that I got from the pro-restriction alders in the past at Green Bay. And it echoes some of the sentiment that from the earlier individuals, that they either were not comfortable letting people in the building, that they thought that there were places that firearms just shouldn't be. There wasn't any statistical data that said that an armed person is any greater danger to somebody else who's around them. Alderman Dorff, when you had first submitted this with the package, some of the information in there regarding armed citizens and the efficacy, some of the information in there talking about there was 3% of the shooters were stopped by armed citizens. One of the problems with that study is it can't show the efficacy of a citizen armed if they're not there. So if in 97% of instances there were no armed citizens that tried to stop say a mass shooter or somebody, then that can't be measured. It's the same efficacy of if there's an incident where there's no officer. You can't prove something that wasn't there. So as far as being a hazard to those around them when they are engaging, statistically, in shootings regarding officers or shootings regarding just common citizens, because their duty is to stop a criminal, there's a higher chance or higher incident rate of somebody getting injured from an officer-involved shooting than there is from a private citizen, because their first and foremost priority is going to be to protect themselves. It's not going to be to apprehend somebody. And hopefully their priority is to evade a threat, isn't to engage a threat. That's kind of why we carry, I hope. It's not to act in the place of police officers, but to defend yourself. So we're here to a lot of things that brought this forward is fear. There's two extreme sides to the issue. There are the individuals who fear that anyone who has a gun that doesn't have a badge. They don't necessarily feel the gun because they're comfortable around police officers, but they feel fear the person. So they kind of are projecting their fear onto common citizens, no matter how they're acting or reacting. The other side is people who fear a bad guy coming in, so they arm themselves. So these are people that, yes, they do carry, they feel they have to have a firearm, they feel they need to have a firearm in order to protect themselves. So when we talk about emotion on both sides of the issue, I think those are the two extremes. We talk about it's common for people to have fears of snakes, to have fear of spiders, and we're expected as we grow up to kind of develop coping mechanisms for these things. Whereas if somebody has a fear of a firearm or a person with a firearm, it's looked at as general, well, everyone else should have to change to adapt to their fear. That person necessarily doesn't have to cope. The people carrying shouldn't be able to carry in that area. In order to cope, I believe that they kind of surrender their personal responsibility to defend themselves, and they're putting their faith that someone in law enforcement will come to their rescue should they need it, which can be liberating. They decided it's out of my hands, I don't have control over this, and they're putting blind faith that somebody can come help them. The promise becomes self-supporting every year, which goes by that they're not a victim of violent crime. So you talked about statistics in Green Bay. Less than 1/2% in any year of Green Bay residents are a victim of violent crime. So the odds of somebody coming rushing in here with a gun are pretty darn low. That's not what this is about. That's not what I'm here to address. I'm not here to say we're here to provide security. You're safer because I'm here. I'm not going to make that claim. So some of the same studies that I mentioned before, what talks about efficacy. For those people that choose to use a firearm to defend themselves against a violent crime, their injury rate is lower than using any other weapon or simply surrendering and complying with the person. And that was reported in the study that you had presented. So if you actively use a firearm, either to threaten a person or to shoot the person, your odds of getting injured are lower. So back to my position, I don't carry because I think I have to or I need to, but I believe it's the right thing to do. So I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I'm also a Wisconsin concealed carry firearm trainer. The message that I have gotten from the last 3 police chiefs that I talked to was that, Green Bay Police Department is a champion of community policing. Like to get out in the community. In general, what comes up when you start discussing community policing is Sir Robert Peel. One of his quotes is that the police are the public and the public are the police being only members of the public who are paid to give full-time attention to duties which are incumbent upon every citizen in the interest of community welfare and existence. So what I take away from that, it's not that the people are trying to be police. It's that it's incumbent upon every citizen to take personal responsibility for your security. So just like I don't keep a pair of jumper cables in my trunk because I'm in constant fear of my car breaking down, or I don't keep a fire extinguisher at home because I have a phobia of my house bursting into flames. I don't carry a firearm because I have a phobia of somebody coming to attack me any moment and I have to be ready to pounce. It's more of having the right tool at the right time when it's needed. So we talk about places where you're restricted. We bring up police stations, mental health, secure facilities, courthouses. Typically, these are secure facilities to begin with. There are metal detectors, there are added security. And it was brought up before that if we were to restrict carry in all Green Bay City buildings, this would be kind of a feel-good measure because it couldn't be enforced. We're not going to install metal detectors at every door. We're not going to screen everyone that goes through. So with or without a statute, if you don't have a way of, or an ordinance, without having a way of enforcing it, only the people that you don't want to be armed are going to be the people coming through. The reasonable, responsible adults are going to say, I don't want a ticket, I don't want to pay the $1,000 or whatever it is for trespassing because I violated the posting. They're not going to be carrying. Without ranting, we'll go back to, I don't want to insult anyone saying you don't know your First Amendment rights or don't know Second Amendment rights, but I just want to touch on it a little bit. First Amendment was designed to protect debate at the fringes. We don't need courts to protect speech that everyone's agreed with because that speech is tolerated. You need a First Amendment to protect speech that people regard as intolerable, outrageous, or offensive, because that's when the majority will wield its power to censor or suppress. We have a First Amendment to prevent the government from doing that. The same can be said for the Second Amendment. It's in place to prevent the government from disarming us. If you look at the early restrictions back when the early 1800s, when concealed carry was first restricted, it was supported by hunters, target shooters, sporting firearm associations, such as the NRA and the United States Revolver Association. What you would think of as a traditional gun culture actually supported these restrictions. As long as the interests of them were met, well, you're not looking at taking me one way, my rifle, my shotgun, anything like that, they were okay with it. We talk about when people speak out against, they say, I'm a veteran, I'm a hunter. The thing about veteran status doesn't make you an expert on public firearm carry. What it makes you is you're trained to be familiar with firearms to use them in a time of war. So it can be ingrained that that's the purpose of that firearm is to kill a human being, to do harm. A hunter, the purpose of that firearm is to kill an animal. So if you have no experience, no education on public firearm carry, you're going to think, why would I want to carry a firearm in public? I don't want to run around killing people. The reality is we carry because in the hopes that we never have to use it. We're not carrying hoping that we get in a confrontation. And as mentioned with the training, the training is such that you avoid confrontation. If something's going on, you don't walk up and go head toe to toe with somebody. If somebody's in the front of the room about to shoot, you're gonna run out the back door. That's just the way it is. It's not, we're not to provide security, we're here to protect ourselves, that's the only reason we're carrying. If you never have to draw and you make it away, that's a success. You know, what a person does after that, that's you know, up to their conscience. We talk about the Wisconsin State Constitution, which is saying the people have the right to keep and bear arms for security, defense, or any other lawful purpose, which of course includes hunting. If you go down to the notations, it talks about the natural meaning of bear arms is to wear, bear, or carry upon the person or in the clothing or in a pocket for the purpose of being armed, ready for offensive or defensive action in the case of conflict with another person. So that being the case, it's not saying that either the Second Amendment nor the Wisconsin State Constitution give us these rights. It affirms these rights as existing. As such, I believe that if you're going to infringe upon these rights, there should be substantive due process. So as whether it's the United States government making a restriction, whether it's the state of Wisconsin. The state of Wisconsin, we talk about gun-free school zones. Federally, if I'm a licensee by the state of Wisconsin, under federal law, I can carry on school grounds, I can walk inside a school. The state of Wisconsin has decided to take that further. The state of Wisconsin says, no, we don't want, not even to drop off your child in a parking lot. We're gonna make that an offense. So that was a choice made by the state. So any state action requiring a citizen to forego even part of such a basic liberty should not be considered just legitimate. So legitimately, the council can say, yep, we're not gonna allow carrying in any Green Bay municipal buildings whatsoever. It's legitimate, the state allows them to do that. What I'm asking is that you examine whether there's a compelling interest of the citizens to do this. When you're interfering with the exercise of a fundamental right, it should be supported by the state interest, and it should be closely tailored to effectuate only those interests. So if the council looks at this and says, we have a compelling interest, yes, we have overwhelming, we don't want our citizens to be nervous about open carry, then your interest goes no further than eliminating that open carry. So you could say, we don't want to see them open, but yet we don't want to infringe, we're going to only restrict concealed carry, as an example. So when you're going through decisions, should we have any ordinance? How restrictive should this ordinance be? Please take the time to examine this and think about, do we have substantive cause? Do we have a significant interest in the Green Bay Council doing that? And I just want to draw, not only, would it be an infringement, although a legal infringement, Supreme Court says, yep, that's fine, you can, that's a reasonable infringement. Take a look at the 14th Amendment, which says you shouldn't deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So even though technically you're going through a due process, I would ask you to think upon those lines in, are we doing our due diligence to examine what's our real need here? How much do we really want to infringe? What's our goal on the other side? And that's really all for Dale.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, by all means.
My name is Dave Boyce, 123 South Quincy Street. As someone who's witnessing the testimony, I would like to see if it might be a good idea to, for this particular issue, when they come to present their testimony, that they also present a hard copy of their testimony with the major points highlighted in yellow or whatever, so that they could leave that document with the commission, because it gets really stressful to keep your ears wide open and remain absolutely alert when these testimonies are extended They go on and on and on and on. You know, I think for the people that intend to spend a lot of time up here, they should also be required in this particular instance to present a hard copy of what they're saying.
But anyone can bring anything and share with the committee at any time, before, during, after. Do you have any, about the actual item before us, do you have any comment on that?
Main comment that I would make, now that quite often I spend a lot of time in the back of the council chambers, sitting behind the chief of police, who's representing his department, and I see his firearm there. And as a veteran of the Army and the Air Force and my other experiences, it's a solemn reminder that there's some very serious discussions going on, and I would like to see things remain the way they are for the council meetings. And I think it's really stressful to the average person to see people running around with firearms. And if you say, well, you can bring something in, somebody could bring a firearm so big you'd have to have an overcoat to carry it into the building. So
Do you understand the way things are now? People can carry firearms into
No.
the meetings, and you just said you'd like to keep it that way, but I'm not understanding.
Well, I'm comfortable with the chief of police having.
We're not talking about police,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not talking about, the police, of course, will carry their firearms.
We're talking about the common citizen. Right now, common
Right.
citizens can carry concealed or open in any building in the city except for the police department and municipal court when it's in session.
I'd prefer that the common citizen would not have a firearm in these situations. You know,
Okay.
it's just a little disturbing to me individually. I believe in the Second Amendment completely, but some things are just a little overboard.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else?
Hello.
Hi. Your name and address, please.
David O'Neill, 1221 Oregon Street. One point that the previous gentleman had said that he doesn't know if someone with a long gun is going to carry underneath his jacket. A, that's illegal under pretty much all statutes, and that is a person that is probably going to do more harm than good. The reason why I carry is I want to protect myself, my family. I don't want to protect anyone else, to be honest. The police have no duty to protect anyone. Barb, you looked a little surprised when you found out.
I've heard that. But
No, so, no.
Sorry.
You looked a little surprised when you found out that you couldn't carry in city council chambers as a city employee.
No, again, I knew the answer to the question before I asked it, but I just wanted to make sure everyone else knew that you can't carry as an older person. Go ahead.
The look on your face showed quite surprised. But
Okay.
anyway.
I was surprised.
Unfortunately, if someone's feelings are hurt, they just have to get over it. At the Colburn Park pool meeting, I was never in the room, and someone accuses me of pounding my fist on the podium.
That wasn't.
I know it wasn't me.
Sorry.
I know,
Go ahead.
I know it wasn't me, it was Joel, and I was accused of being the outspoken, violent, tempered individual. No. In order to carry this, you have to be a very calm individual and pray you never have to use it. I hope I never have to defend myself in the manner that would possibly end someone's life. I would hope that you guys would continue to allow carrying in City Hall as well as other city buildings. And that's it.
Just a question.
Yes.
How do you feel about, this it may be problematical, we'll take it up later, but if we did not allow open carry but concealed.
So the reason why I open carry quite a bit is I have back problems. I haven't been able to find a holster yet that allows me to conceal carry and still be comfortable. That's why I open carry.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Take a motion to close the floor.
I will make a motion to return to regular order.
Second.
Motion by Alder Dorf, second by Alder Galvin. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, well, the floor is now closed. We're now back amongst ourselves. I think I'd like to just take a minute and frame how I view this, and then how I'm looking at this, and then I have a question for staff. I'm looking at this as, I believe there are people who are honestly intimidated by weapons, and there are those who honestly feel more secure carrying a weapon. And this was all generated by some people who were concerned when they saw people open carrying in chambers at the council for several months back. And for me, I'm not looking at so much as rights versus democratic participation. What can we do to create an environment where as many people as possible feel comfortable participating in their democracy? So for me, generally, I see there might be some issues, but generally, I think if we allowed conceal but not open carry, that generally would make people who feel insecure or nervous about people who carry better, and for those who feel they want to carry, they can still carry generally. We'll have to tweak that, but anyway, so that's where I'm kind of leaning at this moment. However, in communication with legal, well, before I get to that, also we have three possibilities here if we do go forward with some type of ban. One is an ordinance, but there are also, we could do a resolution or just make policy. So for myself, I'm thinking I kind of like the idea of policy, that we don't need to make an ordinance, that we just make it a policy that there's no open carry, perhaps. That's the way I'm kind of going right now at this point in time.
I'd like to understand a little clearer what are the differences.
Well, I was going to ask staff, I was going to read them to you, but if staff, which we...
No, I can say, yeah.
Okay, well,
Well, if there's an ordinance passed that would prohibit weapons and firearms in city buildings, that would allow the city to then bring citations against the violator, and then they could be prosecuted in municipal court. If it was like a resolution or a policy, then it would fall under a state statute, and then those individuals who would violate the statute would be prosecuted in district court.
Okay.
Okay. Now, here's the other rub. By state statute, it would appear that we're kind of something in a position of all or nothing. We can either ban all or ban nothing, that we can't split the difference and make a compromise.
And I'll look into that more. I did just read on my phone that the state capitol does ban open carry, but allows concealed carry in the assembly area, but then each individual representative can put up their own sign that's saying that they're prohibiting guns, so in certain areas, so I'll have to look into that more and get back to you on that.
Oh, good. Well, then we still have a crack of daylight here for that. Okay, because I was going to ask if we did go. Well, I won't bother with that question now.
What I can say though is that every municipality that is on this list, it's all or nothing with them.
Right.
So which kind of leads me to believe that at the municipal level probably isn't as easy to accomplish.
Okay, we'll be leaders. Everybody will follow us after this. All right, well then I have no other question. I'll leave, if you're going to look into that further. I thought that was going to be a major hurdle to maybe get over if we were going to make a compromise. So that's how I'm seeing it, and that's how I'm feeling about it at this point in time. Any other discussion here? Yes?
Thank you. Well, I had a very informative discussion with Mr. Forrell. We met and he was very, very convincing. And again, this issue comes from constituents. It doesn't come from me personally. As my husband, who is sitting in the audience, is well aware, I used my retirement money to purchase a Glock. And so I was brought up in a hunting family. My dad was a World War II veteran. My husband is a Marine veteran from the Vietnam conflict. So I personally am very comfortable around guns, and yet some constituents are not. So after I talked to Mr. Forrell, I started considering, could we have a compromise position? And came to much the same conclusion, even though Alder Scannell and I have not discussed this, as Alder Scannell did, that the sight of the gun can be intimidating, but I would be willing to look at concealed. I also think this shouldn't be the last discussion. I would like to get some other questions answered by legal as to why those municipalities did go that route. So I don't know that I want this brought to council, because I don't think that quickly those answers could be gotten. And I do say there would be quite an enforcement, a costly enforcement, if we did have no weapons carried. It would be quite costly to install the
Metal
detectors, thank you, the metal detectors, and to
Guards.
ensure that, but that wouldn't be a good reason not to do it. But I do think, as I talk to people, I saw the emotion of fear on both sides. That is the fear people have for a weapon, and the fear people have that they might need to protect themselves or their families from someone. So there are strong emotions that seem to rule both sides of this. To me, the concealed carry might be a good position to take. That's it.
Anything all available?
And I agree, the ability to secure these buildings properly so we could have a true gun-free zone within the buildings is, there's not the money, and I don't think there's the will for it. So to have a law that you can't enforce, to me, seems kind of silly and a waste of time. At the same time, I truly do understand everyone's right to carry. I don't come from a gun family or anything else like that. I do own guns, things like that, basically because of my job, and I hunt, things like that. But I also understand where people can be intimidated. People could be intimidated by this officer sitting to my right here because he's wearing a uniform. They can be intimidated if he was standing there in plain clothes because he can bench more than I weigh. And that might just intimidate some people. We see this thing played out on the media a lot, where we've had incidents in our communities because people feel intimidated by different factors within our differences amongst ourselves. And so how do we work around that? We try to educate each other. We try to get each other to see each other from different angles and different viewpoints, so we begin to accept each other. And so people here have said people that are afraid of guns should try to get over that fear. I understand that, but I also understand that that's not always going to happen. And so we have to try and look out for everyone so that the purpose of government is that everyone has the right to express the way they feel or the way they think about something. And we have to make that as available to everybody as possible. And that's the dig here. So I think maybe we need to hear some more from other people. I've learned a lot tonight. So I guess we're leaning towards
Motion to hold?
holding this. I will say one thing, though. It was mentioned twice tonight that the police do not have a duty to protect, and I'm going to take some umbrage with that. I've spent almost 36 of my years of my life, and I took an oath to protect, whether you feel I have a duty to protect or not. And I don't think there's any officer at the city of Green Bay who feels otherwise. They go to bed every night and they get up every morning, and they feel that they have a duty, an obligation to protect everybody in this community. So With that, I'm done. Thank you.
I would just ask staff, one more thing before we make the motion. Oh, okay. The municipalities that have passed prohibition, have they taken precautions of metal detectors and everything else? Do we know, can we find that out?
I can tell you that there was one article I read from, it was like 2011 or 2012, from Appleton, where the chief of police said that we're not gonna have metal detectors, and we don't really have a way of enforcing it, so just kinda have to go with it and see how they'll learn how to deal with it. I mean, there's other things that you're not supposed to have on your person too that you don't always know it to, so it's obviously up to you guys for your decision.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Dwayne?
Yeah, I'm just going to ask you, when you make your communication, make it very clear that there's a possibility that the ordinance that the council, the committee, the possibility of changing the ordinance, because you're going to get a lot more people here. This was a study that they read. And, and of course, these gentlemen came, and, that's easy. But if you make it very clear that the ordinance would possibly change, you're going to get a lot more people that you're going to listen to.
We have no ordinance.
No, but
that we would.
our code.
Yeah, that we would
There's a
make
possibility, yeah.
policy.
Yeah, that the policy change might change, and then you're gonna get the people. And I agree, I was gonna wait at the end, very clearly, I heard it too, I don't know any officer that doesn't feel they're out there to protect. I mean, I'm telling you, this day and age, you can't ever turn your back on any individual, no matter what they look like, or how innocent they look, because I tell you, their lives are in danger as much as ours, and believe me, they're here to protect us.
Okay, thank you.
And also, this is really about two people. We all know who they are. One is really political, and he's a really good guy. He loves his politics, and the other one's loves his politics with the city. And I don't see an abundance of people carrying in. They're both in the room here today. And I don't see them scary at all. But so just remember that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Just one thing about the officer bit. I've got a lot of friends that are officers.
But I'm sorry, we do have to close and, unless,
You
do we really want to open it?
We agree. We also do it individually.
It's gonna be
In our
short,
whole.
short and sweet.
Oh, gee, you officers protect the whole, for the whole society. That's how it works. You do protect, but we can't always have you right next to us all the time, even though we like you.
Okay.
I like to
All
have
right.
you around.
Okay. Motion open the floor, quick.
Motion open the floor.
Second.
I just wanted
Aye.
to
Yep.
correct myself from before, when I said that police officers have no duty to protect me as, I just meant the Supreme Court has ruled that police officers have no duty to protect the individual, just society, so. That's, I just.
All right.
Yeah, and that was
But
Bronson.
we believe you do. Don't worry about us.
Okay.
We love you for it.
All right, motion to close the floor.
Close the floor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we have a motion to hold from, or
We're just not doing it.
Like two.
are we just holding, we're not talking about policy change then, or
Then we'd have to put in we could receive
Receive
and
and
place
place
on
on file
file
and
and
put
then put a
communication
communication.
in for possible policy change?
Right.
And
And that would
have
get
it
the ball
at-
rolling like Tom said, so it's
Right,
properly
so-
At the
notified.
next meeting, have more of a
Right.
hearing.
So a motion to receive and place on file,
So this is gonna be like fluoride.
kind of,
Yeah. Just so you know what we're getting into.
yeah.
Okay.
I get it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Move to receive
You're
and
gonna
place
get a
on
big
file.
Motion to receive and place on file by Alder Dorf,
Second.
second by Alder Galvin, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? That passes. We are on to our last item here. Here it is. Consideration with possible action on a resolution to print ordinance 30-09 regarding graffiti and renumber Green Bay Municipal Code, section 27.615. Staff.
So what happened was Officer Ryan Meter.
Yep.
Okay, he contacted me and said that there was a graffiti ordinance that he believed was passed a while back, and he didn't see it in our municipal code. So I looked into it, and that was a general ordinance 39-09 that was regarding graffiti. It amended chapter 27 and chapter 28. It was passed by the common council, but it was never printed in the code. Then later, another ordinance, 26-10, was passed under the correct section number of 616. When that ordinance got printed, it was under the wrong number. It was under the graffiti number. So all this resolution is doing, it's asking to renumber a couple ordinances and actually print it into the code. That's all it's asking.
Can we just spray it on the wall?
Move to renumber.
Move to renumber, I'll second that.
Motion by Eldor, second by Alder Galvin, all in favor? Aye. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
No, change the date.
Oh, change it, I'm sorry. Yes,
Oh, I'm
next.
out of here. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Next Monday, Alderdorf can't make it. Would next Thursday
It would
of
be the
that
Thursday, the 27th.
7th at 5 o'clock.
Yes.
5 o'clock, would that
You
work
guys
for
okay
everybody?
with that?
The 27th.
Thursday, the
Fine.
27th.
Yeah, we gotta make sure Guy gets that.
Yep. Okay, then, and you'll change the posting on that then?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
And we'll
Oh, wait,
let
so our
officers-
next meeting?
Our
Yeah.
next meeting will be
So
Thursday,
that,
the
I have the
27th.
dog and everything needs to know too, Mallory Mavis.
Yeah,
We'll do that. We'll be fine.
I'll notify
Yeah.
Abel in the morning, he's got to order in for roll.
Okay,
It's gonna be overtime. I don't care.
there it goes,
Good for her.
there it goes.
Okay, yep, all right.
Day ends at 4.
Yeah, they'll be notified too then, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much.
adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
John.
Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
That's Randy's.
Is that your accent?